Hello, hello, Mel and everybody.
Are you guys dancing in Japan yet, or are you still in isolation?
Bad news. We danced for about a month, but then 2 days ago, the venue for our club was closed again due to the surge, I guess.
I think that's happening more and more around the world. Some places opened up and now they're closing down again.
Yep.
I think a little bit of it was too fast, too much too soon. All right, well, Mark is taking over the duties as the co-host and doorman, so I thank you for that. And Mark, I believe you're now recording. Before we start, does anybody else want to record these?
Yes, please.
Who was that? Is that Michael?
Yep.
Allow record. Mark, are you allowed to select people to record if they want?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
These are still going to be posted so we can download them, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Mark, if anybody wants to record the sessions, just send Mark a message in the chat window and he can click the button. I will ask that if you can, if everybody could mute themselves, because on one of the videos, some of the background music was coming through. So if you can mute yourself during the presentation, and then we'll open it up for chat afterwards. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the presentation. And we'll close that. We'll try.
Okay, Michael, I think I got you set up where you can record now.
I got it.
All right, you should all be able to see the PowerPoint slides there. Okay, so what we're doing in this session is we're carrying on with the theme that we were started off with modules. And up to this point, what we've looked at is your 5 foundation modules. Can somebody, whoever that is, mute themselves, please? The 5 basic foundation modules for callers, which are the, what we call the interactive corner box module, which is swing through, boys run, or sorry, swing through, boys run, Ferris wheel, and pass through. There's also the, I'm a caller, I need to look at the dancers, it's going to do nothing, take a break module, which is a partner line to partner line, swing through, girls circulate, boys trade. I stand corrected. Partner line to partner line, pass through, wheel and deal, double pass through, first couple left, next couple right. Those are the 2 first foundation modules that every caller should know. The third one is it's a corner box, sorry, a partner line to a corner box module. I call it the symmetrical conversion module. And that is from a partner line, touch a quarter, all 8 circulate, boys run. I call it the symmetrical module just to remind me that you can also say left touch a quarter, all 8 circulate, girls run to achieve the corner box as well. The fourth one is the magic module, which is swing through, girls circulate, boys trade, boys run, bend the line. And the reason I say girls and boys like that is because it is designed specifically like that. You can say ends and centers, but it's called the magic module. It was Bill Peters' magic module because you can put things on the front and back of it without changing the actual module. For instance, that module in itself is a corner box to a partner line conversion. If I put a star through in front of the module and a star through at the end of the module, it goes from a partner line to a corner box conversion. The module doesn't change. The module, the last module that every new caller should have in their memory is called, I call it the traffic pattern module, just as a reminder of what it does, but that's the chicken plucker, which is right and left through, dive through, pass through, right and left through, dive through, pass through. And we all use half a chicken plucker to go from a corner box to across the street box or a right-hand lady box and back again. So with those, keep those 5 modules in your mind as we go through that. Those are, as I said, the 5 that every caller should have in their memory right from the start. Okay, so what this session is about is preparing a practice performance. And it's essentially delivering that first patter hoedown or getting behind the mic for the first time, etc. And I receive a lot of comments and queries from a lot of new callers and newer callers that are just starting out that are being encouraged to call patter. Some of them send me videos, something they want to, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? This kind of stuff. And that's great. Many of the same callers tell me that their callers in their area tell them to just sight call it, just move the dancers around. Don't worry about who's where. In my opinion, that's probably the worst advice you could ever give a caller. It is almost as bad as taking a brand new caller and say, right, I'm going to teach you sight calling. All you need to know is sight resolution. And after that, you don't have to worry about knowing where the dancers are. You just have to resolve them. Those are two of the worst things you could ever do to a new caller. Sight resolution, that belongs way down on the list after learning a bunch of basic foundations. Okay. Now, there's many books, text, modules, organizational workshops, caller schools, lots of resources available to all callers at any level. But nevertheless, when virtually, and yes, there are a few exceptions, all callers start, they begin to practice their first patterns by using known material that they know to them. And that usually takes two forms. Okay, that's just calling random movements so that they can feel the rhythm of the patter, work the music, just saying words to the music, and the geography is irrelevant. This is when I said they start practicing, they're practicing in their homes and they're going, right, head square through, when they get four hands around you, go, spin, chain through, and they get move it down and line it, go, and when you're there, relay the deucey, relay once and relay twice and relay thrice, and you're practicing a rhythm and touch a chord or spin, chain through and swing through, and you know, and they're just practicing the rhythm of movements going. They may have heard something, they're practicing a flow, there's enunciation. The good thing about this is you learn to adapt phrasing and flow and word enunciation to your music. The bad thing with doing this is you're not actually using the music timing of the movements or body flow to incorporate into your pattern. All you're doing is just getting used to assessing the record and fitting the metering of the record to your voice. The second method of starting out, of adapting, is more common. And that is probably what most of the new callers do. And most new callers know or have about 1 to 5 singing calls when they start off. And they draw on the memory of those figures to adapt their pattern routines into flowing and successful flow. So they may have a singing call that goes, let's take rhythm of the falling rain or rhythm of the rain. And they might call it head square through, when they get four hands around you, go, go all the way, do a do-si-do, and when you're there, make an ocean wave, swing through, boys run, bend the line. Do the right and left through, flutter wheel, pick up the boy and take her back, slide through when Alaman left your corner. And as you go, that may be how the singing call is written. As you go, you learn things like, that says do-si-do to an ocean wave. Well, you don't need to call do-si-do to an ocean wave. So you take that out of your pattern. Those are things you develop later. Okay. The good thing about this is the timing for sequences like that is usually known, and the body flow is usually accurate to a resolution.
Mel,
Yeah,
are you changing the slideshow?
not yet.
Okay, I was just wondering. I thought maybe it was frozen or something.
No, it's not frozen. Okay. One benefit, yeah, it's unusual for me to actually talk and expect people to not look at the slides. Yeah, like I said, it's a comfortable, easy way of getting yourself used to the phrasing of music with choreographic sequence. It's also a good way to adapt pattern phrasing and flow to the music. One of the big drawbacks is your pattern can become redundant as you tend to rely on the same flow figures over and over. We see this a lot with more experienced callers. They have 1 or 2 or 3 good singing call modules that they use. And when they're evaluating a singing call, they'll just always use that same figure in the singing call to see if it works. It's a good way of assessing records, but it's also a good way of learning to phrase, to enunciate. And we're still not calling, we're just getting used to the idea of it. Now, while that first method, just calling random movements, may help you call phrases rather than sing the calls, The second method does the same, but it's a much more valuable tool because you're actually using choreography and you get the feel for it.
Now that they trust, knowing where their food comes from, plus they have more time to be cooking at home.
You can find all of those links for the farmers and for Weaver's Way on our website.
Can you mute whoever that is there, Mark?
FYI. And with the summer heat on full blast.
Thank you. Okay. So I've been asked by a lot of callers. What the heck is going on here? Okay. Okay. How do you sight call and still remember all these zeros and all these combinations? Basically, it's practice, practice, practice. I put this slide up there just as a reminder of that. Prior proper planning prevents poor performance. The Army has a different way of saying that, but that's essentially the facts. Benjamin Franklin wrote it more succinctly. If you fail to prepare, you prepared to fail. So always remember the two words, preparation and practice. Okay, so you've got to accept this now. And like I said, we've had this argument in several sessions. My opinion is pure sight calling is a myth. It does not exist. Okay, so remember those two words, preparation and practice. Sight calling and sight resolution is only the application of memorized techniques rather than memorizing reading choreographic strings. Like all techniques, it's important to start with basics. And the next basic that we're starting with for new callers is getting ready to start your patter or hoedown. As I said at the beginning, you know how to move dancers, you know your definitions, you know your 5 foundation modules, you should know your formations in general. At this point, now you're getting ready to start getting ready to call. Okay. For the new caller, patter is probably one of the most daunting things in front of you, especially when sight calling. Unfortunately, sight resolution has been pushed as the immediate target goal for callers for too long. Quite frankly, from a dancer's perspective, dancers would rather have somebody who has a practice and prepared routine that may occasionally glance at a cue card or computer screen because they're not watching you, they don't care, but they'd rather have you call a good dance. They'd have that over anybody who's forcing their way through stress and torment trying to sight resolve because that's what they were told they needed to learn and that's what they needed to do. There's a big difference between somebody calling head square through and I get 4 hands around you go, swing through, spin the top and a right and left through and so on, than somebody that's calling it goes head square through and I get 4 hands around you do and swing through. Okay, where am I? Okay, girls, you're on the end. Girls circulate and boys trade. Boys run. Good. Couples circulate. Okay, I got to pair them up. Center ladies trade. Because if you're thinking that way, you're calling that way. It's not practice. You get better with time, but it's still stop and choppy, especially for new callers. It's torment and stress you do not need. I have not met a good caller, mentor, or caller coach yet that tells new callers that they have to learn to sight call from day one. Many insured callers understand the mechanics of each movement, and they have them analyze calls to see what each movement does. They teach them what can be called from the endpoints of each movement. So if I call a right and left through, I'm back in facing couples. What can I do from here? They teach you a string of 1, 2, 3 or more movements that work together. These are known as flow modules. But that's not sight calling. That's learning the basics of movement mechanics and module development. Okay, you don't need that stress. With regard to patter calling, especially the first time, there's a 10-step success plan. And that 10-step plan should be on your screen now. Number 1, the emphasis should always be put the dancers first. You want the dancers to dance and have fun. So all your preparation is focused towards them moving successfully through your routines. 2, preparation and practice. 3, smooth flowing sequences that do what you want, and what you want them to do. 4, preparation and practice. 5, you got comfortable routines that you know. By preparing and practicing your modules, it's a comfortable routine and you know that routine. You know what the modules are. You practice the module. You haven't tried to memorize long sequences and long strings of patter. You've got little short modules and you prepared them and you practice putting them together in random sequences. 6, preparation and practices. 7, knowing your routine so that you can watch the dancers and follow the timing and flow. That's achieved through preparation and practice. And once you've prepared and practiced, go back, do some more preparation and more practice. And when you feel you're ready, go back and do it again. Now that seems a little bit talking down, but it's not. I'm actually deadly serious about this. A prepared and practiced caller gives a performance that is well worth attending. Yeah. So from start to delivery, many callers, even experienced mentors and coaches, they tell new callers,
staging virtual events as well.
We've had
hello.
verbal class where you learn about.
They tell their new callers to pick out 1 or 2 singing calls, write out figures and memorize them. Then just work on the singing call figures as your pattern. As I said, that's good for establishing working rhythms, but it's not yet calling a square dance. That's just parroting somebody else's work. It's just doing a delivery or reading a story. From there, you've got to progress. And the progression is the introduction of a few modules, usually 0 modules, to add a little variety. By the way, it's perfectly okay to have a cue card with your 0 modules in big letters so that you can quickly look across and look back, refresh yourself at a glance, and set it down off to the side somewhere. Okay? You don't want to be holding all this stuff, this paper in front of you. You can mix them in and you can use them where appropriate, where you have singing calls figures memorized. In your singing call, if you remember last session, we talked about identifying the quote fix points, the corner boxes and the partner lines for new callers only, where you can use your modules and where you can put them in and where you can finish. And remember, every one of those fix points, corner box and partner line only for a start, is where you can call an Alaman left or a circle left or do a resolve. Okay. Once you've got that and your modules, you go back and repeat steps 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, and 10 of the plan. And those steps are preparation and practice. Good caller mentors and coaches will tell you that most singing calls break into smaller pattern modules. They also use this to build up your caller toolkit. But they will also tell you that doing that is not all there is to pattern calling. All of this that we're doing on modules is only one small tool in the basic starter kit for callers to move dancers around the floor. So just remember, all this is just one tool in your calling repertoire. Okay. So if we look at the next stage, we're getting ready to start our first singing call. We're still at the practice homework stage. So the next stage is getting up and doing that first patter call or first hoedown. Now, what will be highlighted is the use of the singing call figures in patter. So for this, and usually for most new callers when they start, they pick a singing call and they build their tip around that singing call. So I'm going to use exactly the same format. It's important to note that many singing calls do not easily break down into bits and pieces to give you little zeros. Not all of them have a corner box to a partner line or corner box to corner box module in. In other words, you may not get those fixed points. That doesn't mean you cannot use the singing call. It just means you have to do a little more preparation and practice to get ready to use that figure. Now that's true of probably about half of all singing calls when you start getting into the more complex choreography. The secret to using those figures is don't even try to break them down into more complex phasar states and everything else. You don't need to do that. You don't need anything beyond the basic formations and the basic relationships to start, and you need to get comfortable with moving dancers and understanding that at the start. Do you need to immediately recognize the phasar state of designations? No, you don't. And to try and do so at the start is only going to confuse and frustrate you as a new caller. If you're taught to think of, 1P, 2P lines, or 1P, 2 corner lines, or 1 corner, 3 partner boxes, or boxes out of sequence, and all that other sort of crap at the beginning, all you've done is frustrate yourself trying to learn stuff you do not need to know. You don't need to know the difference between a box 1-4 and a box 4-4, or an X box or a lead to the right box. Or what's the difference between a 5L1P line and a 5W2P line. You don't know, you don't care. Things move in and out of these things. All you're worried about is your 2 fixed points, corner box, partner line to start. Eventually you're going to learn all that stuff, but in reality you don't need it, and frankly you don't want it at this point. All you need to start is an understanding of what is a box, what is a line, what is a boy, what is a girl. And yes, that is important. What is a boy, what is a girl? That's all you need. Okay, so what do you know so far? Again, keep it simple. At this point, you should also already know what corner boxes are and what partner lines are. If not, simply put their formation boxes or lines where the couples and the relationship with the couples are standard, boy on the left, girl on the right, and it's a position from which you can call it an Alaman left, and everybody gets back to their partner. Okay. The best example of a corner box, heads square through. The best example of a partner line, heads lead to the right and circle to a line. Okay. You know the principles of simple modules, and you know at least 1 or 2 singing calls and the figures of those singing calls that go with those, or the modules in that singing call that go with that singing call figure. So in the real world, what does that mean? So let's set up a common scenario for a new caller. You've been asked to prepare a tip and to call at the next club dance. So let's walk through your preparation stage step by step. To illustrate the use of a singing call as a pattern, let's look at one specific singing call, okay? So you've taken 3 records in your record box, or the caller's given you 3 records, or he's given you a little flash drive with 3 songs on it. He says, choose one, okay? And one of them has these lyrics on it. You know, 1 and 3, you square through, and basically it has this figure on it. Square through, do, si, do, swing through, boys run, tag the line, cloverleaf, girls square through 3, swing the corner. Because that's what it boils down to when you take all of the words like, and you count 4 hands, you know, when you see that corner, do a little do, si, do. All that's just filler. That's timing that was put in the record. It was on the cue sheet, but it's to help you get through the timing of the song. But it's just filler. So if we break this down into a recognizable formations, remember we're keeping it simple, corner box and partner line only. We look at head square through puts me in a box, an 8-chain-4 box type formation. That's a corner box. Great. I want to know that. That's one of my fixed point. Do, si, do does nothing at all. Okay. So it's filler. It's a filler movement. It's a stop movement. It's a flow movement. It's something that is there for a reason, either to fill in time or for flow. Do I need it in my pattern? Probably. Probably not. Depends on what I want to call next. In this case, the next movement is swing through, so I don't need it in my pattern. I've got to make a note of that. The next movement, swing through, great. Boys run, 2 movements. That makes a 2-face line. Your original side's facing out, the head's not paired facing in and out of sequence. In other words, a 2-face line where you can call a wheel and deal and do an element left. All sorts of ways of describing that. The way you've got to look at it and describe it is keep it simple. Is that a corner box or partner line? No, it's not. Forget about it. I ignore it. Following that is tag the line. That puts you in a completed double pass-through position with the girls in the lead. Okay, for new callers, that's a difficult formation to pick up and flow from. So again, we ignore it. Remember, our goal is to keep it simple. We know this sequence works because it's in our singing call and we've moved it with our checkers to double check it, but it's not a fixed point. Cloverleaf, that puts the girls in the middle. Yep, again, it's not a corner box or partner line. We're going to ignore it. We want to keep it simple. Girls square through 3, that gets me to my corner. No, but that's not a corner box or partner line. That's a corner swing. Don't want to use that either. So what have I got there? I've got really a get into a corner box and a corner box to a corner swing. Can't really use that in my pattern unless I make changes to it. But I do have 2 or 3 other singing calls that I can use, and I can use them and break them down. So what you're going to do is mark your fixed points. So there's my first singing call, head square through. I've marked it, corner box, nothing else in it. And I've got a second singing call. Heads lead to the right, circle to a line. Oh, I marked that. That's a partner line. Pass through, wheel and deal. Centers pass through, touch a quarter, split, circulate, boys run. Oh, I'm in a partner line. Slide through, square through 3. I'm in a trade by formation, but that's to a corner swing. I can do an Alaman left from there. So that's a partner line to a corner box, or sorry, to a resolution. So I marked those 3 little things in there. And where are we here? No, that was supposed to be already open. Is Taminations on your screen, Mark?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is.
Thank you. So if we're going to look at all of this together, okay, if we look at the first sequence, we've got head square through 4. Takes me to a corner box. Do side do does nothing. Swing through. Yeah. Boys run. Nope, not a partner line or a corner box. Nope, not a partner line or a corner box. Nope, not a partner line or a corner box. Yeah, okay, it doesn't work. Now, the singing call figure is good. That's everybody with their corner. They can do a swing and promenade and still have ample time to get home. It's a good flowing figure. I look at the second figure that I've chosen. Heads lead to the right and circle to a line. Yep, that's a partner line. Pass through, wheel and deal. Centers pass through. Nope. Touch a quarter, split, circulate. Boys run. Oh, wait, that's a partner line. So I've got a partner line to a partner line. Slide through. 1, 2, square through 3. Okay, that's not a corner box, but it is an Alaman left position. And I can do an Alaman left and promenade or whatever here. I could do a swing your corner, promenade, all sorts of things. From that, just with those 2 figures, you now have enough flexibility to call an entire patter dance. And you haven't even looked at the dancers yet. Actually, probably you haven't even left the kitchen table yet. All you've done so far is just look at calling a patter tip. With those 2 figures and your 5 foundation modules that you should have memorized, the corner box flow module, the partner line flow module, the magic module, the conversion module, and the chicken plucker, you've got more than enough material to fill in at least 10 patter call records without repeating yourself. And we'll look at how we're going to do that in a bit. Okay, so we go back to the slide. PowerPoint should be back up on your system.
Yes.
So what we've done is we've identified the modules in our singing call. There's our singing call 1. There's our singing call 2. Here's the partner line to partner line module. There's a partner line to resolve module. That's not too bad. That's a good start. So we're going to put those aside. Okay. Now, as I said before, remember the 5 foundation modules? With those and those 5 basic modules, I can create a lot of music. So what I've done is I've chosen to do the singing call figure, square through, do, si, do, swing through, boys run, tag the line, cloverleaf, girls square through 3, swing your corner. Okay. And now I've decided to make 1 resolution for corner box and 1 resolution for partner line. I want to make myself a cue sheet, basically. I'm not going to actually do this. I'm going to go to the resources that are available for me, such as dosido.com or CedarNet choreography. I'm going to find a simple resolution. I'm going to find a simple, hang on, I'm just trying to change screens here. Okay. I'm going to find a couple of simple modules that will work for me, that I can use with my focus figure. Now my focus figure is going to be cloverleaf because that was in my singing call. So I chose a movement at random. And this is what I'm going to do. So the first one I'm going to choose is from a corner box. Okay. I went onto the internet. I looked up corner box sequence to corner box sequence, and I copied this. It's nice, easy to remember. And I want to make sure it works. So I get my checkers. Pass through, just the ends cloverleaf while the centers touch a quarter and the center boy run. Is that a corner box? Yes, it is. Okay, so that's a good module and it works. It's a corner box to a corner box. I've also noted that it's an inversion module because it's gone from sides on the outside to heads on the outside. I'm not worried about that yet because I'm sticking with only the 2 fixed points. I find another one. Okay, a partner line to a partner line module. Okay, so does this work for a module? Yes, so we double check it. Square through 4, that should take me to a trade by formation. Yep, it does. Ends cloverleaf, or the outside's cloverleaf, centers touch a quarter, center boy run, slide through. Yep, that takes me to a partner line. So that is a partner line to a partner line. I also note that it changes the facing direction of the partner line. I was facing head walls, I'm now facing side walls. Doesn't matter. It's good for the dancers because they're going in different directions. But that's not what I'm using it for. I'm just making sure that the choreography works. I also need to get a resolution. So corner box, our first resolution would be a corner box to a right and left grand and Alaman left or to home. So if I look at that, I need to get to a corner box. And remember, heads pair off is the same as doing a head square through. I'm only using that just to shorten the termination sequence. So again, I have not written this. I've just gone through. I found a nice, neat little corner box get out that I like off of one of my many resources or out of a singing call or something. And that's all I'm doing is I'm writing that down. So turn through, yeah, centers pass through, everybody cloverleaf, double pass through, lead couple to a partner trade, pass through, and everybody right and left grand. Yep, that works just fine. Okay. And the last one I'm going to need is a partner line to a partner line result. Or sorry, a partner line to a resolution. So if I look at that, let's have a look at that. Let's get lines. So this one goes pass through, wheel and deal, and the centers do a half sachet. Yeah, okay, that works. Double pass through, cloverleaf. Again, I'm using my movement cloverleaf. Centers swing through, extend. There's the wave. Good ladies trade. That works. Recycle. Alaman left. Yep, that's a corner box. Right and left grand. And all of that works. So the next step is to memorize those modules and then prepare and practice. When I say memorize, I don't mean commit them all to memory. What I mean is you're going to memorize them through constantly going over them and over them and over them and over them and practicing while you're practicing your calling. Head square through, and again, 4 hands around you go. Good, there's my corner box. I'm going to practice corner box to corner box. Pass through, just the ends cloverleaf while the centers touch a quarter, boys run. I'm back in a corner box. Turn through, centers pass through, everybody cloverleaf. Do a double pass through, leaders, partner trade. Everybody pass through and a right and left grand. I'm practicing, I'm practicing. I'm going back, I'm practicing more. I'm going back, I'm practicing more. That's what you're going to be doing. And we still haven't left the kitchen table or the office or anything else. We still haven't written anything. Okay. Now, write your sequences down on a cue card or whatever works for you. I'm just putting this up as a quick reference, but every caller will do that at one point or another. Every caller's got a batch of cue cards or index cards or a book with things written out on them. There's nothing wrong with it. It's always controversial when I say it, but every caller does this at one point or another, and even more so as you get to higher levels. I see very few challenge callers actually sight calling. I don't call challenge, so I don't know, but most of them have little index cards or they have it on their computers and they refresh and they do it. And it's mainly modular calling or sequences that are full screen sequences. Your writing has to be big enough that you can see it from a distance. So if you want to know if it's big enough and you're using it on your computer screen, put it up on your computer screen, take a few back steps away from the table so that the computer's not in front of you or between you and the dancers, but off to the side, and you can glance at it and come back and look at the dancers. And I'm looking at the dancers, I can glance at it. It's also a good way to practice because my little sheet is over here. I can call head, square through, and you get 4 hands around you, quick glance, pass through, ends, cloverleaf, centers, touch a quarter, boy, run. Quick glance and I can refresh myself. For me, I use about a 24-point Arial font because it's easy to read at a distance, and I've got the movement set at 1.5, a spacing between each movement. That's just the way I do it. Find what works for you.
If you look at the picture that I always put up instead of a video, that's me calling and I'm reading. You can, the computer's not even in the picture. That's how far away it is.
Yeah. That's why I put this picture with it way off to the side. If I put this in front of the lady calling here, basically what's happening is there's a piece of paper calling to the dancers. Not. Okay, so now we're into, this is where it starts getting real. Okay, you're still at home, you're still preparing, but this is what I call the Sir Mix and Match-a-Lot system. Basically, you've got your cue sheet, you've got your singing call written down, you've got your corner box to corner box module written down, you've got your partner line to partner line module written down, you've got your partner line to corner box to partner line module written down, you've got your resolution modules written down. Now you're going to put the patter on and you're going to start making combinations, little short combinations, keeping it simple so that you can prepare and practice and prepare and practice. This is the point where you start putting it all together. You've only chosen one singing call figure on your cue sheet. You've modified it for your patter because it ends with a swing your corner. You might modify it by saying 4 ladies chain, 3/4, and then use something different to get to that corner box. It's still a corner box. You know you've just modified it so that they're going to do something with their corner so that they end up with their partner. You've taken your partner, you put it in the corner position so that when you call swing, you're going to be swinging your partner. Same figure out of your singing call, but you can still use it. Okay? From here, remember what I said? Don't write any long sequences. You want to have it on the cue card. So there's just a sample example. Okay? How you lay out your cue card is entirely up to you. But most of you should be able to see that. You should be able to see exactly what is on that. You see where the sequences go, where the sequences take you, and what you're going to do. And you can mix and match. Whenever I get to a corner box, I can use a corner box module. Whenever I get to a partner line, I can use a partner line module. I can do a get into a corner box and call a corner box to resolve. I can call a get into a partner line. I can call a partner line to a partner line. And then if I want, I can call a partner line to a corner box. Don't have one of those there, so I'm not going to do that. I can call a partner line to a partner line resolve. I can get into a corner box, and then I can call a corner box to a corner box and a corner box resolve. I can mix and match these however I want. And I still have not done any sight calling, any sight resolution, any stress. I know that any one of those corner boxes, I can say Alaman left. And I know that any one of those partner lines, I can call circle left if I wanted to do that. Okay, so what you've got to do, what you've got to do is remember to keep your sequences short and simple. You decided that you're going to use that singing call figure. You may want to use simple openers. A good way to warm the dancers up is you might be sight calling an opener. So let's see if this works here. Okay, so you might heads pass through and cloverleaf. Good. Side, or sorry, the centers star through. Centers star through. Centers pass through and cloverleaf. New centers pass through. Allemande left, right, and left, right. Okay. I haven't really done anything. And there's a lot of callers that will say, oh, I'm just going to sight call my opening. That wasn't sight calling. That was something that was memorized. I've worked the checkers out. I've added it in to that empty box on the reference sheet. Where is it? See this down here? I've added a little opening figure that's going to use my cloverleaf. So that's not sight calling. I may have got there by sight calling, but as soon as I wrote that down and I'm going to repeat that sequence out of memory, that is now a module. That's a full sequence module from a static square to a right and left grand to warm the dancers up. You can start with opening figures. You can do all sorts of things, but what you're going to be doing is mixing and matching your modules. Okay, so now we get back into the step 8. Step 8 is preparation and practice. We're still at home. We want to keep it short and keep it simple. We want to do our openers and simple routines. Yes, you practice your openers. You practice your simple routines. You start using different get-ins for variety. So instead of saying head square through all the time, part of your foundation training before you even started calling was learning about things like equivalents, simple equivalents, 1 or 2. Head square through is the same as saying heads flutter wheel and sweep a quarter more, centers pass through. You know, you can do these kinds of things. That changes the whole feeling. You change it for heads, you change it to sides. That gives a different feeling again. You can also use your chicken plucker routine to work with other dancers. So I can do heads square through 4. That's a corner box. I do a half a chicken plucker. I can do a corner box to corner box module on the other side. And then I can do half a chicken plucker and bring him back home. And I haven't changed anything. I haven't added anything new. I haven't done anything different. I haven't added any new modules. I haven't added any new sequences, but it's going to feel good for the dancers. The whole point of it is you are there to give the dancers a good time with good choreography. You're not there to be clever and show how good you are. When you do a good job and they succeed with a little variety, such as what we've talked about, that's going to show how good you are, as long as you remember why you're there. And why you are there is you are there for them, not for you. Okay? So this is an ideal way of preparation and practicing. Do your singing call. Start that music and do it from start to finish at least 3 times. That way it's in your head. That way you can put it away for a little bit. Then you start practicing the patter portion of the tip. You select your patter music and you stand and you mix and you match the modules. And if you make a mistake, you don't stop and start over. You accept the fact that you made a mistake and you say, right, static square. Physically say that, static square. And you start over and you start over and you mix and match your modules. If your singing call has fixed points, put your singing call down, insert a module at the fixed point. If it's a corner box module, get to that corner box, insert the corner box module, and then call an Allemande left. Practice doing that. Keep your insertions very short into the fixed point, and then use a module to get back out. Practice your opener, practice your full sequences, practice your module sequences with different get-ins, okay? Then you go back and you redo your singing call, and then you repeat the patter practice. The last part of this is, once you've done that a few times, stop and take a break. You got to remember, you want to keep your sequences short. That's more for your comfort level than the comfort level of the dancers, okay? It will be better for them, but you want to keep it short. Okay, so I've just written this down. This may be kind of like what it might look like to you. The red is a get-in, head square through. I've changed the get-in, I've changed the get-in, I've done a sequence, I've changed the get-in. The blue is a module. That's a half a chicken plucker. There's a corner box to a corner box module. There's the other half of the chicken plucker, right and left grand. There's a get into a corner box. There's a module. This is from our foundation module. Swing through, girls circulate, boys trade, boys run, bend the line. I'm in a partner line. There's a module, get out. Great. That's from our others, our research. We've copied that module down. There's a get into a partner line. There's a partner line to partner line module. There's a partner line get out. That's from the other singing call that we had. Not new. There's that 4 ladies chain 3/4. I'm setting up so my corner is in my, my partner is in my corner position. There's the singing call figure. And when I do a girls square through 3, instead of saying swing your partner, I'm just saying star through and promenade your partner home. Hey, that works. Heads past the ocean, ladies trade, extend. Swing through, boys run, bend the line. Ooh, that looks interesting. That might even be wrong. Let's double check that. Oops. We'll just double check that module to make sure it does work. And this is why we do it at home as well. Okay, so if I do heads past the ocean, ladies trade, extend, swing through, boys run, bend the line. Oh, yeah, look at that. That's a get into a partner line. It's a module. That's the same as doing lead to the right and circle to the line. I can do another module, pass through, wheel and deal. Centers pass through, touch a quarter, split, circulate, boys run. There's a partner line. Touch a quarter, circulate, boys run. That's part of your foundation modules. Turn through, centers pass through, clover leaf, double pass through, leaders, partner trade. I forgot to do something in there. That doesn't work. No, it didn't. Pass through and a right and left grand. By practicing and looking at them on my checkers, I can make sure. What the heck happened there? So what happened was I've now set this up and I looked at that. That looked a bit odd. This isn't written down, by the way. This is just me putting modules together off my practice sheet. It didn't look right. I double checked it. I made sure it worked. Yes, it worked fine. This is my Sir Mix and Match a Lot bit of my practice session. Now, all of those sequences on there are just matching only the choreography that we know, except for this one here, 4 ladies chain 3/4. All that was just picking it up and saying, right, I want to make sure that I use my singing call figure, that they're going to be able to dance the singing call figure effectively. I've done that. I've used it in my modules. Great. Everything is working. So where's my preparation at now? I have not used any long sequences. I have not written down any long sequences. I already know the sequences from the singing calls. I practiced my singing calls. I know where the fixed point is. There's only one of them in the singing call I've chosen. I've identified a number of corner box and partner line modules that I can insert at any point. Those are the fixed points. And I have a number of cue cards written down, or screenshots, or a cue sheet, or whatever you want to use, whatever works for you is right. Okay, that has your figures and your fixed points and the cards with the zeros that you're going to insert. And it's big enough to refresh at a glance. I can step aside off the screen. So what's left? I mean, really, what is left to do? Step 9, practice and more practice and more practice. So from here, you're going to put on the music, and if you can, record yourself. Listen to yourself trying to dance what you called going through the sequence. Practice your singing call. Practice your singing call sequence as a patter call. Practice your singing call sequence inserting a 0 module. Practice your singing call sequence inserting 2 modules. Practice a get in and insert a module and then finish it with a singing call. Okay. Try and do all this and repeat and mix and match. Record yourself. Go once through the record or through the music. Then stop, get up, and actually dance the man's position, the lady's position, and see what it's like. Practice the mixing and matching. In doing this, you're getting used to standing back, looking at your cue cards, not reading them, or looking at your computer with a glance to refresh, not reading it. Your focus is on the dancers. Okay, and when you're done, you get up and you do it all again. And when you're done, you get up and you practice some more. That's really all there is to it. Okay, now step 10, the last one, means preparation and practice. You're going to practice some more. Once you've done all that, you put it away. Now it's time to come back to it. We've still got 2 more days until we have to get up and call our patter tip. And we still haven't picked up the mic and called in front of dancers yet. All this is in preparation. It's important that you do not try and find hundreds of modules and sequences and put them all together and get as many as you can and download as many corner box to corner box modules as you can. If you do that, you're going to bury yourself in nonsense and frustration. You only need a couple of modules for each tip. You already have 5 in your repertoire. Those are your foundation modules. You'll probably develop 6 modules. From your singing call, you may have 1 or 2 there. So there's 1 already done. You need a partner line to corner, a partner line to partner line, a corner box to corner box, a conversion module, partner line to corner box to partner line, and a resolution module. 6 modules is all you need. That gives you a total of 11 modules, nice, short, simple sequences. You don't have to have that many. You can do a lot less. If you're comfortable, do it. If you're not, just pick 1 and use your foundation modules. Your dancers are going to enjoy dancing smoothly rather than a whole bunch of weird and wonderful variety. Okay. The truth is, if you mix and match it, keep it simple. Patter calling is much more than just moving dancers around the floor, and I've yet to meet a caller that doesn't have a memory module or 2 or other tools in their toolbox to draw from. Okay. Sight calling itself is little more than knowing your basic tools, one of which you've been given here, and that's using modules. And as you grow and practice, so does your toolbox. And so does your ability to call, to sight call, to seemingly move dancers without any memorized sequences, and the abilities to seemingly resolve from everywhere. For virtually all of the well-known callers, most of it was written down on cue cards, and most of it they practiced, and over time, they've got it to the point where they can keep all that stuff in their head because they've used it so often. They've just had a lot more practices with the tools that they have, and they've learned to use a few more tools in their toolbox. As callers get better and more practice, their ability to recognize these random flows seems to appear in these unplanned, unending patter sequences. It's not true. They learn choreographic dance management techniques like crams or mental image, and they make even more fluid and successful use of their craft, incorporating modules into them. The reason is they've learned to use the tools like this one using modules, and they've learned to build bigger and better things with the tools that they have available to them. Just remember, every single one of them started out with the same basic toolkit you have, and every single one of them started out at the same point as you when they had to call their first patter. So what you want to do is you want to keep looking at what you know, because you know a lot more than you think. With these three calls, these two singing calls and two easy zero modules, you can create over 20 different sequences, independent pattern routines, by only changing one box or one box line. The potential is exponential to increase what you want to do. Okay, so for you math-oriented people out there, I had this question came up and I had to actually figure out the math on it, so I looked it up. They said, well, I've only got 5 modules. How many sequences can I make? So if I limit my get in, and this is only heads starting, heads square through or heads lead right and circled line. If that's my only start, those two starts, with what I have there, my 5 foundation modules that are in my memory, and just the modules that I've got, those 6 modules, the singing call, the corner box to corner box, partner line to partner line to corner box to partner line, and the 2 resolutions, that's 11 modules. 11 short modules so I can refresh at a glance. That makes 165 3-module combinations without repeating a combination and without using the same module twice in the same sequence. I guarantee you are going to run out of music long before you run out of potential combinations. That's how powerful this is. And it will feel different. When you add sides square through now, or sides lead to the right, I've now doubled that. Okay, that's 165 3-module combinations. Why I say 3-module combinations? Because at the end of each one of those sessions, each one of those modules, I'm at a fixed point. I can call circle left or Alaman left or get out from there. So if something's going wrong, I can get out very, very quickly. Daryl Clendenin made an excellent point in one of the earlier sessions. You do not want modules that string on for 30, 40 movements. It's the worst thing you can do. Ideally, you want to keep them short and simple. My rule of thumb, or my focus, is I try never to have a module more than 10 movements in length. That's a maximum. And that maximum is usually after you've got more experience. When you start, you want to try and keep your modules as short as you can, 5, 6 movements. These are not transition modules or change modules or anything like that. These are corner box to corner box, partner line to partner line, or partner line resolution, corner box resolutions. Keep them as short and simple as you can so you can mix and match your choreography. And the important thing, your focus is now where it should be, on the dancers. You will have prepared and practiced enough so that when you start calling, your focus is on the dancers. It's not on sight resolving or worrying about who is with whom. The choreography that you've got will take care of that for you. And believe me, your dancers are going to feel it. They're going to love you for it. Your biggest worry if you follow that simple system is that you're going to do so well, they're going to ask you to come back and do more, or they're going to hire you to call an event. And believe me, if that's the worst thing that happens to you, life is pretty good for a square dance caller. What's crucial to remember is that this is your first patter tip, or maybe your second patter tip, or a guest tip somewhere. The process doesn't change. You still have not done any sight calling. You still have not needed a sight resolution technique, because at this point, it's just the 2 singing calls and a couple of modules. Okay. I call this my stress factor slide. Most callers say, what do I do if I lose my place? Well, if you do get lost, you can always use a resolution technique in your toolbox if you have one. If you're flustered and you can't remember what to do, just pair up a key couple and get them on the outside and call an Alaman left. 62.5% of the time, you're going to be right. 99.9% of the time, even though you're going to be right, they're going to be crossed or something's going to be amiss. So what? If I pair up a couple, I don't care who, and put them on the outside and call Alaman left, right and left grand promenade, they may be in the wrong sequence, they may be wrong. Let them sort it out, give them a couple of extra beats of music, and just say something. Did I do that? The dancers will forgive you because they've been dancing good choreography. Give them a couple seconds to regroup and start over. They're not going to mind. In fact, I can guarantee they'll appreciate it a lot more than you standing there and struggling in stop and go fashion, trying to make it work and trying to resolve by sight. Let them dance. So you see my little pterodactyl and dinosaur on the left? That's the caller that has a few modules and is trying to sight resolve on his first square. By using simple modules and not worrying about it, you've taken the stress. From a dancer's perspective, the pterodactyl and the dinosaur on the right feels like, wow, this guy is moved, this guy is alive, this person is, wow, this calling is great, this square dancing stuff has got variety. You only get better through practice. Okay, so good luck. I hope that this session's been useful to some of the new callers. Remember that this is my opinion only. This is the system that I use. I strongly recommend you don't listen to just one opinion when you're learning the call. Go out and find a lot of experienced callers out there. Ask questions, find out how they're doing things. Determine what's right for you. Use it. Get comfortable with it and make it yours, because you only get better through practice. Okay? And the aspirational goal for all callers is don't practice until you get it right. Practice it until you no longer get it wrong. Right, that's a lot of material. So if you guys want to unmute yourself, I haven't had the chat window up because I've had the PowerPoint slide up. So I'll just quickly look at the chat window. Mark, were there any questions that came in the chat window that needed to be addressed?
No, I didn't see any.
There's a comment here from Barry Wanson. When I have a 50% chance of getting something right, 99% of the time I will get it wrong. Absolutely. That's Murphy's Law fits into square dancing all the time. And you know what? If the dancers are dancing and they're moving well and their choreography is smooth flowing and they're succeeding, they will forgive the fact that you've got the head ladies crossed or that you've got the sides in the wrong position. Give them a couple extra seconds and it'll work fine. You said it looks like Taminations was glitching. Okay,
Yeah, you were doing that clover leaf and where you had the heads pass through and clover leaf, the sides just stood there. They never moved.
Oh yeah, well that's the way the computer sequences are written, the programs, because when you say heads pass through and clover leaf, the program doesn't have the others step in to face the center and all those other kinds of things. You have to actually tell the computer to do it. Like you have to say pass through and partner trade. You have to say pass through, step ahead, and partner trade. That's just one of the nuances in Taminations.
I think it was worse than that. You had the heads pass through in cloverleaf.
Yeah.
And so it was as if it was an extra zoom because the heads were still in the middle. They should have been outside.
Mel, I think though you were dancing 2 couple rather than 4 couple. I think that's the way it looked to me dancing on screen.
Okay, well, let's just try it. Let's just see what's going on.
Could I say just something just quickly?
Absolutely, Daryl.
Start cooking dinner. Very nice job, Mel. Well done. But I would like to say for the newer callers, the ones that are just starting out, if things in your area are like they are for most of the world, you're only going to get one chance at a dance to get up there and show what you can do. You can prove 2 things, you hope. Those 2 things are going to be, you can call something to the dancers. Second thing is the dancers can dance to what you're calling. Beyond that, nothing else counts. Get a tip, 1 tip. If you're just starting out, get 1 tip, a patter, and a really, really good singing call that you can do right every time before you get up there. All right? After that, when that gets to be old, then do a 2nd tip. Take it slow, easy, do it intentionally, if you would, please. You have 1 chance to show them those 2 things. Don't waste it. Thank you. I'm out of here. You'll probably hear me again. Don Wood, you're getting old.
I know that, Betty. I know that. Amen, Brother Darrell. Good to hear from you.
Hey, that's it.
Hello.
Mel, I would like to add one thing. If you fresh through this, I would like to see you spend some time with them on inverts and rotates. That's the principle we teach at GSI Collar School.
Yeah, we've talked about invert and rotate modules. We've introduced them, but what we're doing right now is we're just going through using modules step by step by step by step. Invert and rotate is a completely separate session.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just saying, once you learn these modules and then you apply the principle of invert and rotate on top of them, your expansion, you talk about 65 expansion, expands eightfold.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's something I was actually going to have. And if you want, I've got 2 more sessions on modules, just taking it from foundations. Using these modules, using invert and rotate techniques is something I was trying to get another caller, because I imagine you guys are getting tired of hearing me talk all the time. Trying to get some. So if you want to do a presentation on that, Don, I'm more than happy
to. I'm going to give you the same presentation I use at GSI.
I'd be happy to have it. I'm sure everybody else would be too.
Just by the by, if and when we ever get back to national conventions, if you get a chance to come to the next national convention, if you come 3 days early, you can take the GSI Collar School, which I guarantee you is one of the best in the world, and it's free.
Yep.
And we would love to have it. Tell me when you want that, Mel, and I'll prepare it and get it ready for you.
How's 4 weeks sound?
I'm sorry?
How's 4 weeks sound?
Month sounds good. I'll put it on my calendar.
Anybody else have anything?
Yeah, Mel. You
Yep.
probably have said this, but I wanna just stress again. You said practice, practice, practice. Use the modules, and once again, if this is your if you're a newer caller and this is one of your first tips, too many times newer callers have really fancy choreography that may or may not work, or the dancers may not be able to do it, and they end up looking bad because the dancers can't dance to them. It's so much better to keep it simple and to things that are tried and true, and just give them good dancing.
Absolutely. One of the biggest aspects about practicing and preparing your performance beforehand is just that your delivery is absolutely crucial. The simplicity of your delivery and how it works is absolutely crucial to making sure that the dancers succeed. And like I said, with this session, I talked about introducing a couple of new modules, not writing any modules yet, just ones that you've looked up or found from a singing call. Put them into your sheet, your reference sheet, to make sure that you know that they work, and practice mixing and matching. I'm trying to limit with what you know here on these cue sheets. So far, we've introduced 2 modules that weren't already written for you. You've got the 5 foundation modules, you've got the 4 modules from your singing calls, and now we've introduced 2 new modules. That's 11 modules. The amount of material you can do with just 11 modules is absolutely phenomenal. And Betsy, you're absolutely correct. It's all about the dancers, giving the dancers a good time and letting them succeed. If they're doing that, then you're a good caller. You thinking that you're a good caller, and you thinking that you know all the techniques, and you thinking that you know this, and you can do a funky crossfire from an inverted diamond on a rotated galaxy with a chihuahua in each arm and standing on one leg, that's absolutely great. But the dancers aren't going to appreciate it. You may be technically correct, but the dancers are not going to appreciate it. They will appreciate getting out there, having some fun, moving around and interacting. I've been trying to sort this cloverleaf going. You're right, it is a glitch in Taminations. So I don't know why it wasn't doing that the other day, but it is doing it right now.
One other thing, just to reinforce what Dara said and Betsy said, if you, as a new caller, have a tip ready to call, and you have more than one club in your area available, go and call this tip to several clubs before you go back to your first club and then do something new. Just one thing new in module wise. So you have a chance to show progress to the dancers.
Absolutely.
Without stuttering.
Yeah, we're going to be talking a little bit about theming in the next session, and that's picking a focused movement, because you can do this, you can do an entire evening, you can do an entire tip. When you start doing this, like that particular session, you could say was all about the movement cloverleaf. I can do that at a square dance. I can, John Juergens has got his club and he's asked me to call, and I do that and I prepare. Even though I've been calling for a while, I will still do this preparation. It just may take me a little bit less time. It may take me a little more time. And once I've done that, I'm going to put a note on it, and then I'm going to set that aside. I may use that when I come to another club in a different area because it hasn't been done, and I'm going to create another tip. I might focus on flutter wheel, or I might focus on spin the top. And all I'm doing is I'm creating whole module sequences based on a specific movement, whole tips based on specific movements that I can practice and learn. For new callers, what Daryl was saying, start small. What Betsy was saying, start small and build from there. Make sure you know each piece before you move on to the next piece. And it will work, because once you know them, a quick glance at a screen and it's going to be back in your memory. If you don't, Daryl Clendenin gave a session in Don Beck's group this morning on memory. Most people have trouble memorizing things, people's names, people's faces and everything else. I'm absolutely atrocious with memorizing people's names. So if I meet somebody for the first time, I might say, "Hi, I'm Mel Wilkerson." "Oh, Don Wood." "Don Wood, pleased to meet you, Don. How are you?" "So, Don Wood, where are you from?" "Oh, that's great, Don. Good to know you." I've now used his name 3 or 4 times while shaking his hand and greeting. He probably thinks I'm a bit spastic, but all I'm doing is trying to put his name in my brain. I can guarantee you that by the end of the dance, I will have forgotten it, but a quick glance at his badge, if he hasn't changed that, or something is going to stick that's going to say, right, when I meet Don Wood again, his name's going to stick in my head. I may need a reminder, but his name's going to stick in my head. I might hear it somewhere or whatever. It's the same with your choreography. Use one, memorize one, build it, build it, build it. Then add another one to it. Once you've got that, then add another one to it. Don't try and learn it all at once. It's terrible. Floor is open.
Mel, are you going to post?
Yeah, I was actually in the process of doing that. Unfortunately, I just realized that I'm in private chat, not everyone chat. So I've just changed that over. I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working, but I'm just in the process of doing that now.
Mel, your
Yes?
principles that you pronounced today are very good. If a caller decides that he's only got a basic club, then all he does is limit his research to the basic area and still follow your exactly same principles all the way through, and he's going to have modules that he can call at a basics club.
Absolutely.
And so the principle of learning it is exactly the same. It's just limited the number of calls that he's going to have in his modules.
Absolutely correct. As with anything, anything that you're going to write on a cue sheet, most callers, if they started off with index cards, they would have the level of what the card was, or sorry, the level of what the dance was on the card, and it would be only limited to those movements. If you're doing basic, you write basic at the top and you limit it to the basic program. If you're starting out and you've only got 20 movements, well, you've got all your material is limited to those 20 movements. Absolutely true statement. Sorry, I had an exercise booklet that I put together for this, and I'll be worried if I can find it.
While you're searching,
Yes, go ahead.
I have certain number of singing call figures in my head, and when I get bored with them, I have cue cards. And what I did was, rather than write the program on top of the cue card, each one is in different color ink.
Yep.
So that if it's written in blue, it would be a basic, and if it's written in red, it would be plus, and if it's written in black, it's mainstream. So I just look at the card and I know that I've got the right program.
Yeah. And that's essentially what I'm saying is what works for you is correct.
One quick comment about using various programs. It's incumbent upon you as a new caller or an old caller or whatever the case may be. Hi, Betsy. You've got to structure your tip in accordance with what the floor can handle. So if you're there early, you're monitoring the floor. And just because I mean, there's an old adage, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And there are, you know, I could spend an hour on the call slide through, and it doesn't mean I should at a mainstream dance call it from every position known to man. Daryl said it, you got one chance. Get up there, do your very best, make the dancers happy. Worry about how creative you can be with your own club and whatever the case may be, keeping in mind you still have visitors and guests. So, you know, the only one who, in fact, nobody wins if you get too tricky.
That is true.
I want to just chime in and amplify something that Betsy said a while ago, and that I think a lot of people are saying for beginner callers. The understanding what calls and what combinations and what choreography is difficult for dancers and why is not a simple thing, and a lot of callers are not that good at it, and beginner callers, of course, you know, you just don't have the experience and the background on that whole area. And what I'm getting at here is there's a big temptation. You're a new caller, you're going to get up, you got your, you know, they're putting you on for a tip, and you want to do a really good job, and you want to show them what you can really do, and you'll go out and you'll prep up some material that's just a little bit tricky. And you figure, well, this club can handle it. They dance things like that all the time. The regular guy calls things like that, and they seem to enjoy it. And I better show them I can do. No, that's not what you. Don't do that. Don't do that. Do some simple stuff. They're going to like it a lot more. And because you don't even quite appreciate the risk of supposing that they're not really doing it so well, just because your delivery was off, or maybe they were just having a bad day on the floor. Who knows what happened? But you don't want to risk giving any kind of a bad impression on these precious practice slots where they're putting you up to make a good impression. Be really, really careful, and I just can't, you know, I'm Mr. Call Complicated Stuff, right? I'm telling you, don't do that.
The other thing is their club caller may be, they're used to the club caller, so the club caller would be able to call something more difficult because the dancers and the caller have established a bond of trust. You haven't established that same bond of trust if you're doing one tip. Therefore, you need to establish the bond of trust by calling things that they can succeed at.
Absolutely.
But they all will listen to you more thorough if you're a new voice and you can do things the dancers will not do with their club caller. But you, as the other caller, you have more attention, and they are more attentive. So the problem, some things that the club caller is surprised that they can dance. I've experienced this.
Then you just tell the club caller, well, you know, you did a really good job of training them so they could do that to me.
I have seen this in both ways. I call some stuff at other clubs where the club caller said they don't do this with me. And I've seen this other callers do it at my club. And my dancers were dancing stuff that broke down when I called it.
Yeah. It will happen either way. But what Dawn was saying right at the beginning, I think it was Dawn, you get an opportunity to call where you're calling somewhere or you're doing a guest tip, or even if you're filling in for an evening, your first step is to rein it back from what you would normally be calling. And then you structure yourself so that you can feed the floor so that the dancers can succeed. You want to make sure that that is the whole point. You may think it's simple. If I call heads lead to the right and circle to a line, lines pass through, wheel and deal, double pass through, first go left, next go right, left touch a quarter, all 8 circulate, girls run, Alaman left. Wow, that's going to feel real different. Now that's one of your basic 5 foundation modules. That's called the symmetry conversion, because touch a quarter, circulate, boys run, or left touch a quarter, circulate, girls run. It's the same module, just the symmetry version of it. That's one of your foundation modules. For the dancers, left touch a quarter, circulate this way, girls run. Oh my goodness. You may think that's banal. You may think that's simple. You may think you're talking down to the dancers. The dancers won't. Calling swing through, boys run, Ferris wheel, centers left square through 3, and doing a do-si-do with the corner, or doing a swing through, spin the top, slide through with the corner, you may think that's simple. The dancers are not going to think it's simple. Little simple variety like that will give them that variety, that success, make you look good without having to make them work hard, but they'll feel like they are working hard. And remember, it's all about the dancers. It's not about you showing how clever you are. A lot of callers, I think, do exactly the same thing when you go to a festival. You always want to give your best performance. Your best performance is not your trickiest or your most technical performance. If it is, you're calling for yourself. You're not calling for the dancers. I can't simplify that or say that in any other way except blunt.
I think most of us have asked ourselves, I don't care if you go out to a festival or if somebody shows up at your dance and he or she is a well-known caller or somebody who's experienced, and they call something that what appears to you to be a little bit tricky, but they get away with it. And you ask yourself, how did they do that? Well, many, many years of experience. You mentioned to do a left square through 3 from a formation. You know, if you just walk up there and say, do a left square through 3, they're probably going to fail. If you walk up and say, ready with your left hand, everybody start with the left, do a left square through 3. It may not flow as simple. They're going to get through it, and that's the key. So I would limit that kind of thing to a degree if I'm guest calling, because I still want to be successful.
That's right.
But you can tricky them to death to the point they don't ever want to dance to you again.
Absolutely. And it's the same thing. Who was it that said, I think it was Guido, you said that once you do something, you want to change it. We talk about callers, we talk about new callers, we talk about experienced callers a lot. Now, I really want to stress this. I had a one-on-one session with a caller the other night, and they said, oh, well, I'm a new caller. I've only been calling for 15 years. And to her, she was a new caller because she's called regularly, you know, once a week at her club. She started her own club now, but she's only been calling at her own club for a short time. She still considers herself a new caller. I personally think that's fantastic. I also see a lot of experienced callers. I've been calling for 25, 40 years, 30 years, whatever, but they call a guest tip once a year, or they call, as was mentioned, there's one caller in this area. I have not had the pleasure of meeting them yet, but I have been told that there's one caller in this area that is an experienced caller, and you know when that caller gets up, he's been calling for 20 years, and he's been doing exactly the same song for 20 years, and is now updated. He's got that same song on an MP3 file, but he's still doing that same song and that same figure for 20 years, and he's an experienced caller with 20 years experience under his belt. No, he's a caller with one tip under his belt that's taken him 20 years to perfect. That's the difference. So new or experienced is relative to what you deem yourself. I still consider myself learning. I only call up to A1. I haven't called A1 in a fair long time, so I wouldn't call A1 without a lot of practice right now. I call up to plus, and I'm still having fun learning and playing and learning and mentoring and teaching. That's just a choice I made because it works for me and I like it. What you call works for you, you like it. But remember, I always try and make sure the dancers come first. They have to succeed. They have to have fun. They have to be entertained, because that's what I'm paid for. I'm not paid to show them how good my choreography is, or in some cases, how bad my choreography is. You know, as was pointed out to me very succinctly, what was done 20 years ago or 30 years ago or 40 years ago is not done today. Because of age, because of what? I might agree with some of it. I totally disagree with other things. I think we dance the way we dance on some things because we got slack as callers in teaching things properly. In other things that were habits, star through zoom is a classic example, or touch a quarter zoom from a column is a classic example. I can appreciate, yeah, those are bad flow. You need to have something in there. So I've now taken those out of my repertoire. We have to adjust because for one reason, that the dancers are happy. That's why we have to adjust, not so that we adjust that our calling is technically perfect. And believe me, I've been doing it for almost 40 years now. And I guarantee you, I will still make mistakes. I will still miss a resolution. I will still not get everybody home 100% of the time. But if my dancers are laughing and happy, I'm happy.
I'm
You always
reminded.
try calling naked, Mel. That makes them laugh usually.
Yeah, well, Brian,
I've done that.
there's so much I could say to that, but that's just too easy.
I've done that.
We've all said it to him before anyway. You know, everybody laughs whenever he's naked. So.
Yes, as Don Beck said this morning, if you're trying to remember who is where and who's with who in the starting of a tip and you write it down, if you write it down, you very rarely have to remember it, but just remember, always tear up the sheet that you wrote their names down or what you wrote down, especially if you're calling in a nudist colony. Because what you're sight calling on is not what you should be sight calling on.
Well, that's why I use a dry ease board. I can erase what I write down real quickly. Barry Clasper once said that if you're calling for a basic or mainstream group, 90% of the dancers should be dancing 98% of the time. If your choreography makes it so difficult that they're not doing that, you're not doing something correct.
Ian has posted that he's figured out how to fix that Cloverleaf program. I don't know, are you still with us, Ian?
Yes, I am. Can you still get into terminations? I'll show it to you.
Hang on.
Okay.
Oh, look at that. Hang on a second. I've actually, for some reason,
What are we getting in real time now? Oh my God.
Okay, so if I go, hang on, share screen. Okay, you should have it there.
Okay. Now, first of all, type in heads pass through.
Yep.
Hit enter, and then just type in the word cloverleaf. There you are.
Well, there you go.
That looked a lot better.
Also, Mel, when you're
Yep.
typing centers, if you just type the letter C rather than centers, you don't have to worry about the American and the Australian spelling.
Yeah, I'm like I said, remember when I said on modules and cue sheets, do what you're comfortable with? I'm not comfortable with the abbreviations. I don't like them. The same with the little star with a line through it or a circle with a line through it for a circle to a line. I still prefer to type things out longhand, mainly because I haven't learned all the abbreviations on terminations or the shortcuts. Once I get them, I'll get comfortable with them, but I find if I try and do it without practicing, I'll start using all the wrong ones and I end up typing a lot longer than writing it out. But you're absolutely correct.
Practice, practice, practice.
Yeah. If you remember in the presentation, it says if you go back and you repeat 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, and 10, those steps are all preparation and practice. Preparation and practice. When I started learning to call, my mentor was Kim Lindner. He's the one that got me into it. And he said, as an experienced caller, for every hour you put on the floor, you're doing at least 2 hours of preparation and practice for that 1 hour on the floor. You'll get to that point only when you're experienced. Normally, when you start off, your one tip is probably going to be about 3, maybe 4 days, and we're talking 3 or 4 hours a day of preparation and practice to get ready for one tip. It'll slowly get less, but you're still looking at about 2 hours for every hour you put on the floor, getting ready, going over your notes. If you're teaching a class, same thing, getting ready, going over last year's notes, last year's comments, revisiting your material, rereading the, preparing your sequences. There's a lot of work in it. And if you're not ready to do that work, you're not ready to call. And for many, many years, we've had a lot of callers that are up calling that haven't been doing that work, because it's real easy to call more movements and to call technically weird stuff, or to program your choreography with a computer that says, I'm here, select this. Okay, I'll just click this movement. That can be done from there. That can be done from there. And it tells you where you are. There's a few programs that do that. I use checkers. I use Taminations here because it's easier to demonstrate with a group, but I use my checkers. And believe me, I don't always get it right. Thanks for popping in, Howard. I did post the presentations in the chat. I do apologize. I hope they're all in there. I was posting them. I had to post them about 11 times because every time I started posting it, somebody would send me a message. And when somebody sends a message, it automatically defaults to private. And it wasn't in the everybody chat. So hopefully they're there. If you haven't received them, you can always send me an email and I can send them to you.
I count 4 files in the chat.
There should be 3, but if there's 4, that means one was done twice. There should be the presentation, the notes that go with the presentation, and then there's also a little caller module exercise booklet that I put together. And it's just something for newer callers to play with and have a look at, see with it. It's got the notes, it's got your 5 foundation modules, just to take what we've done so far.
Okay, the Zoom presentation's in there twice. That's what it is.
Okay. So that's the presentation on modules. Next week, we're going to be looking at the next step in module development, which falls, it's very similar to this presentation, but it's actually theming, which is taking a focus movement and building our tip and our pattern around a focus movement and actually start writing modules that we can actually use to build that cue sheet and practice with. So I hope to see everybody with that one. The floor is now open for discussion on anything that anybody wants to talk about. It doesn't have to be about modules. It can be about anything. Sorry, let me refresh. It can be about anything square dance related.
Just a value add comment. First of all, Mel, great job. Absolutely great job.
Thanks, son.
Are you working on your accreditation?
I was asked about, I was going to do it at the conference that we were having here in Australia because we had Randy Doherty and Steve Turner here. But then I looked at what the criteria are. Because of the nuances of where I am, I cannot meet, or I can't guarantee that I will meet the annual criteria of number of dances and whatnot every year. I don't count these training sessions or open houses as dances. That's just me.
Well, that may well change given the current situation. Who knows? I hope they change it. I wanted to add one more thing to your presentation about new callers. And this comes from the heart and comes from experience. When you go to call a guest tip, make sure the tune you're going to use is something, the singing call you're going to use is something you really know. Take it from one who didn't. I had a song that I dearly loved, and it took me probably 4 times to try to start it before I threw it across the room. So,
Whoops.
yeah, well, it was a mistake.
It has. Don, I've sent you my email in the chat room. If you want to send me an email, I can flick you a couple things, how to get in contact with me, and we can set up, if you want to do an entire session around how to use the invert and rotate modules.
Certainly.
In your pattern. Love to have you.
Let's see how I can get to the chat room. It's right here. And
I'll put it in there again.
I'm not sure where I go. I haven't used the chat.
Just tap on chat.
I did.
Okay, it should be, it's because Murray sent me a message. I'm sending it privately to Murray. Hang on a second. Nobody send me a message. There. It should be in there now.
Yeah, I got it. Okay.
Yeah. No, it'd be great. And like I said, I'm doing a 5-part series on modules. If anybody has anything on square dance calling for new callers, for experienced callers, on technique, we've had Don Beck here doing mental imaging. We've had Jerry Story here doing the social square dance program. If there's something that you want to look at, we can do that. If there's something that you've got that you want to present, we've got some excellent callers. You don't have to be an accredited Color Lab coach to make a presentation and get people thinking square dancing. Janet Lewis are you with us here today, Janet?
She was.
Janet Lewis.
No, I'm here.
Hey, Janet Lewis gave a presentation on her version of the call analysis sheet, which is what she uses, and it's a work in progress, which takes looking at movements into a little more depth. There was a lot of really experienced callers in that session, and a lot of them went back and said, you know what, I never actually thought about it that way. I'll look at it. Now, that may not be the call analysis sheet that Color Lab uses, or the Canadian Callers Association uses, or the American Callers or your association uses, but it works for Janet, and it works for a lot of other callers, and it got them thinking about how they look at their own things. So nothing is off the table. You may be a brand new caller and have an idea, put it on the table. It might be new to you. It might be, oh yeah, and you can expand that, you know. I might put something out and Betsy and Barry might say, well, we've been doing that for 25 years. Yeah, but nobody's ever told me as a new caller, I've just discovered this for myself. There is a lot of experience out there. So share your ideas. Don, I'm more than happy to have you do presentations.
Thank you so much.
I'll set you down for the next 36 of them.
No, I don't think so. No, but I would like, I will be happy to do the invert and rotate one.
Okay. I've got 2 more presentations in this series. So that's the next 2 Sundays. If you want to do the 3rd Sunday, it would be an excellent follow-on to modules, putting them all together.
Let me check my calendar because I put it a month out when you said it.
Yep. Like I said, I'll work on whatever schedule you do.
I had it down for the, well, Sunday for you, Saturday for me.
Yeah.
The 29th of August. Does that work, or would you rather at the 22nd?
It's up to you. I've got 2 more of this session. You can do it as the next session after that, or you can do it on the 29th. Doesn't matter.
Okay,
whatever you're comfortable with.
Then you're going to do a session on the 1st and the 8th, and I'll do this on the 15th.
Okay, give me a second.
Does that work for you?
You're going to make me open my calendar, aren't you?
I have to open mine all the time.
Okay, so today is the 26th. So I've got the 2nd and the 9th are sessions 4 and 5. So either the 16th or the 23rd or the 30th, whatever you prefer.
Well, it's going to be the 15th for me or the 22nd. I'm a day ahead, I think.
Yeah.
Which one would you prefer?
My personal thing, I would say the 16th because it keeps all the module stuff together.
Okay, I will add it. Yep.
Does that work for you?
Does.
Okay.
And I will send it to you probably a week in advance.
Okay. Modules is. I just put a
And while I got everybody on the line, if you don't mind, I would like to thank everybody who's purchased our music. You folks have done a stellar job, and I hope you're enjoying it. Any ideas you have for singing calls you'd like, send me an email. By the way, I own Lumac and R&D recordings.
I thought you might want to add that in there.
I was just getting ready to ask which ones.
Yeah, Lumac and R&D.
I bought some from both.
Well, R&D is for guys like you, new callers coming up that, you know, are somewhat established and want to do, think they would like to do a singing call. We have a pretty, and I'm not advertising, we have a pretty good package we offer. And the music is top notch. Any way we can do it, we keep it the best you can buy. So feel free to check us out.
Yep.
Mel, I got a question.
Yes. Who's that?
This is Mark.
Oh, yes, Mark.
On your presentation on the Math Geeks page.
Yeah.
Where it says 11 modules, and it says you have 5 foundation plus 2 from singing call plus 4 new.
Yep.
So that's 4 new ones that you made for that night. Is that what you're?
Yeah. On that particular, just to figure out the math, what I looked at is you have your 5 foundation modules, actually 6, but the 5 foundation modules, and then you've got a corner box resolution, and you've got a corner box to partner line from the singing calls. So that's 2 that were there, and I just plucked out 4 modules. I actually pulled those off of CedarNet choreography. Just pulled them off there, made sure that they worked, made sure that they flowed. So that gave me 6 modules. But the reason I use 6 as an average is because when I do up a call sheet, a caller reference sheet, I want to look at modules. I want 1 corner box to corner box module that has my feature movement in it, 1 partner line to partner line module, a partner line to corner box module, a corner box to partner line module, and a resolution module from each corner box and partner line. That's 6 modules. It may come from my singing call, it may not, but what I'm looking at is with 6 modules on a reference sheet and my 5 foundation modules, I can make, only using heads starting, 165 sequences. Then it doubles if I want to go side starting. And that is sequences that use only 3 modules and never repeat. It never duplicates the sequence, and it never uses the same module in the same sequence twice. That's how the math works. Quite frankly, it doesn't matter, because as we showed in a session this morning after Dawn's, we just did with 1 module, those 5 foundation modules and a little bit of isolated sight. In 3 sequences, we used up 7 64-beat phrases of music. That's 1 singing call record complete. And we only just started touching the iceberg by using 1 module, and we never repeated the sequence. It's not difficult to do. And it's a good, excellent foundation skill.
Mel, I've got to check out real quick. I want to thank everybody. I also want to pass along something that Vic Cedar, a good friend of mine, said to me one time. He said, "Don't trust my modules." He said, "I haven't chance to work them all out. I may make a mistake. It's on your head to check them when you decide to use one."
Yep, absolutely.
Right from the horse's mouth.
Yeah. I stress that all the time. Whenever you borrow, we don't steal choreography, we don't borrow. Whenever you research choreography into your repertoire, like I've researched a lot of Betsy Goddard's choreography into my repertoire. Whenever you do that, always double check it to make sure it works. For those of you that know, Barry Wanson writes Behind the Mic. He's the chief editor. I do some writing for that on occasion, and I put choreography in there. Barry always goes and checks my work, and we also have another caller that checks all the choreography. And believe me, I don't always get it right, because a lot of the times, one thing that I did recently, I sent in at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was in such pain. I had 2 codeine, 2 endone, 2 tramol, and
God.
2 tegrin in my system just to get rid of the pain. And that is probably not the best time to be trying to write choreography. It all made perfect sense at the time.
Anyway, Mel, thank you so much, guys. Thank you all. I'm going to check out. I got stuff I got to get done.
Thanks a lot, Don, and I hope to see you again.
You bet.
See you, Don.
Bye bye.
Bye, Don.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Don.
But yeah, I can't stress that enough. Always check the choreography that you're going to use. Ian, if you're still with us, thank you for that. One of the things about square combinations, you can put combinations like pass through and cloverleaf. It may work in some situations, it doesn't work in others. So combination is a bit funny, but as Brad Christie said, if ever you find something like that, send him an email. If it is a glitch, he'll fix it. And he's usually very quick. You know, so you can color code each individual dancer now. So you can select dancers, you can select couples, you can color the pairs, or you can individually color dancers if you want to put everybody black and just track the man through the system or the lady through the system. In Facebook pages, on the newbie callers and on callers in training, there was a lot of discussion in Don Beck's presentation on mental imaging of tracking one dancer, usually the #1 man, through the system. Daryl Clendenin put up, working with Don, a article on tracking a single lady through mental image calling. So for the lady callers that were interested in that, that's also available on the Facebook pages for download. I was kind of hoping that a couple of the other things would be picking it up. A lot of these things, these sessions are going into the Caller Lab knowledge database. Behind the Mic magazine has articles past, present, and probably future are going into the knowledge database. A lot of the square dance history is going into the knowledge database. Take care, Jeff. So there are so many resources out there. Betsy Gotta has a website. I visit it quite frequently. She doesn't know that because she doesn't have trackers on, but she's got a lot of great material that is on that website, and it's pulled out with little modules. You know, so use what's available to you. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Most of it's already been done. New to you is great because it's a discovery. And if you come up with an idea, put it out there. There's a lot of really, really good callers that are brand new that have interesting ideas for choreography. A few years back, we did a caller session in Wollongong, and the whole evening dance was only modules and choreographic sequences that were created by the new callers in the training session. There was absolutely nothing written by experienced callers, and that went in, and there was some great ideas and great choreography, that stuff that, you know, I never thought of. I don't know if Barry ever thought of it. It just one or two little ideas that came out because we're so used to looking at it one way. When somebody looks at it with new eyes, they might see something different. And of course, we researched that into our repertoire as well.
Hey, Mel.
Yes, Holly.
I'm glad that you said about the practice and writing, because I just did 4 tips. It took me, I spent probably a week and a half getting 4 tips ready, and I thought, this is terrible. I'm just so bad at it. But now maybe that's what it takes for me as a beginning.
If it took you that long for 4 tips, you probably got a lot more experience under your belt than you think you do.
I don't know. It's just
I know when I started out and Kim asked me to do my first patter call and singing call, and he was adamant. He would not let me just get up and do a singing call. He was a believer that you're a square dance caller, you do a patter and a singer call. I don't care if you're using modules. I don't care if you're just repeating a few singing call figures in order. You've got to be able to get up and call patter because that's part of the activity. And it took me, I had 2 weeks notice. I was in the Army, and my entire time, even when I was out on a Leopard tank, I was a gunner in a Leopard tank, and I had little magnetic Army symbols, which were actually my square dance figures. Everybody thought I was studying Army tactics. I was trying to figure out square dance choreography on the gun box in the gunner seat of a Leopard tank, figuring out what worked.
Yeah.
I took almost 2 solid weeks of practice, and I still thought I did a terrible job. He said, you did good. I didn't solve it all the time. I used modules and I made mistakes, but I practiced and I practiced, and it was 2 weeks solid for one tip.
Yeah.
So.
And I was scared a long time ago when Don Beck mentioned that he liked to practice his mental image while driving down the highway. But I think you have him beat with the practicing the choreography in a tank.
I wouldn't say that, Chris, because I've watched Don in some of these Zoom sessions. And if I look at Don, I say, okay, so Don's going to mentally image following this, and I'll say head square through, swing through, end circulate, centers trade, centers run, bend the line, pass the ocean, recycle, pass through, trade by. And Don's following this mental imaging. But one of the things about Don and mental imaging, and why you say it could be scary him practicing, is when Don does it, he does this.
Can't see the cars.
He puts his head slightly back into one side and closes his eyes when he's tracking them. So I think him doing that in a car could be a scary proposition.
Yes, indeed.
I got booked once because I was thinking choreography as I was driving along and not watching the speedo.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
But
there's a thing
all...
called cruise control.
Yes.
Not always good in the city.
We didn't have cruise control.
Well, because I live at Victor Harbour, we're an hour out of Adelaide. So whenever I drive up and my husband's not with me, I'll practice my singing calls as I'm driving, and I must have it in cruise control. And the same with the choreography. I do that. But you have to be aware.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I can remember way back in the 70s when I first started to call, I used to get Brian Hotchkiss caller tapes, and had them on all the time in the car while I was driving around doing deliveries, and that's how I learnt to call.
I remember when I was just learning
Thank you, John.
to dance in 1981. We would go to all these square. I was in Germany at the time, and we would go to these dances, and it was nothing to, we're in Lahr, that's in the southern part of Germany, to drive up to Hamburg, which is, it's only 800 kilometers away or something. So it's just, we're going up there for an afternoon or an evening dance, because that's what you did, because we were incredibly stupid and young. But the whole trip, we'd have a caller with us or whatnot, and we'd be singing in the car, but we'd be singing the square dance version of a song, including the choreography.
Yep.
And it's just, listen to the rhythm of the falling rain, telling me just what a fool I'd be. How a man left your corner, lady, do-ba-do, side-do. And we'd be singing that, and people would just think you're absolutely nuts. And you realize after a while, when you get somebody that's not a square dancer in the car and you start doing that, they look at you as if you are nuts.
Well, I can't even sing a song by the regular lyrics anymore because I've done it so much with the square dance.
I hate to break it to you, but it's not as if we were nuts. We're nuts.
But in a good way. But in a good way.
Now, come on, put your hand up and be honest. How many of you, when you hear a song on the radio, are actually analyzing that song to see if it fits square dance choreography and beat? I know I do, all the time.
Sometimes.
And, I do it all the time, and what I find is, most of this stuff either has 48 beats to a phrase or 96 beats to a phrase, or they switch back and forth. Very few of them have 64 beats to a phrase or to a sequence.
Mel, you need to change radio stations.
I do constantly.
But Mel, there was a jamboree in Germany one time where the band played at the after party, and they wanted the dancers to sing.
Mm-hmm.
And they started to play Country Roads, and the dancers started singing "For Ladies Chain." The band was pissed.
I can actually see that happening. And the band is going, what the language are they speaking? Barry gave me a tape a while back Barry Wonson gave me a tape a while back, or not a tape, a music to look at to record. It's called Same Old Side Road. And it goes, high road, low road, same old side road, really don't matter to me if it gets me back to you. Really nice song. It's a driving song. It's a 4/4. It's a good power song. And it's got a nice big beast to it. And I'm listening to it. Da 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 dee da 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 dee da 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 da. And it sounded to me like a Russian folk song. So automatically my mind went, oh, I took Russian in university. There was a poem by a fellow by the name of Pushkin. Я вас люблю, любовь еще будет позже, в душе моей угасла не совсем. And it fits to the metering of that song perfectly. So I play with it. And if I'm calling that, I might switch over to Russian, or I might take an old French folk song and start switching. The lyrics make absolutely no sense for square dancing, but most don't understand that anyway. And it's only song lyrics, because the square dancing is in English, and they say, oh wow, they've written a Russian square dance song. No, it's just play with it. And we all play with lyrics of songs like that.
I think I've still got downstairs the recording where you did the Russian voices on the song on the tape.
Yeah, just don't ever release that.
No. Well, actually, a lot of when Mel was here back in January at our house, I think we did 5 vocals that day. And none of them have been released as yet, because with the COVID virus situation, nobody's buying music at the moment. So everybody's sort of like waiting to see what happens when we can sooner or later get back everything together. And so I haven't even sent that music to be released through Tracy Brown, and I haven't even sent the originals over to him as yet. Mind you, Mel, you still haven't sent me the lyric sheets either.
I saved them with there when we were there.
No.
On the lyric sheet, it was written out at the bottom. Okay, I'll try and dig them out and get them over to you.
Send them out again. It's interesting, you know, when we were talking, when Guido was talking about, and the other people were talking about singing in the car when we go. We used to do it as well. And I remember Brian Hotchkiss telling me about it. They used to sing the same sort of thing when he was going around on the horse and